Hi, welcome to Viewpoint. Viewpoint is a show that brings you programmings on topics that affect us as families and our community. And I'm the host, Lil Newman, and I'd like to introduce you to my host, Susan Solomon. And today's topic is nutrition and the link between nutrition, mental health, and addiction. And our guests today are Wendy Blanchard, a certified holistic health coach and practitioner, and Lisa D'Alessandro, a massage therapist, licensed massage therapist, a certified holistic health coach practitioner, and the American Drug List practitioner. And as we get talking, you can tell us what that is, because that, took me back for a few minutes. I didn't know exactly what that was. And Sue, hi, how are you?
How you doing,
Welcome.
Lily?
How you doing?
Great to see you. I missed you last week.
Really glad to have you back.
I'm really glad to be back. And I'd like to say hello to Wendy. It's so nice to see you again.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
After our last conversation we had in Nyack,
yes,
I learned a lot about what you've gone through. And when Lily and I were discussing who would be great guests to have on Viewpoint, you came to mind.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here and recommending Lisa to be here as well.
Thank you. We're thrilled to be here.
Thank you for the opportunity. Absolutely.
You know what? Can you just tell us a little bit about what brings you? Because when Sue and I were talking, we were always looking about addiction and what causes it, underlining, and recovery. And she said, she talked about you, Wendy, and the link between nutrition, mental health, and addiction. So maybe you could just give us a little background, how you got here.
Sure.
Everything that brought you to this point.
Sure. So I was addicted to prescription drugs for 40 years, as we talked about. And in early 2013, I finally asked for help for this addiction. And when I went away, I'd always loved to cook and bake, but when I went away to the rehabilitation facility, there was a personal chef at the facility, and she began talking about and teaching classes about how to eat clean and green. So when she did the classes, I took some extra notes and really hung out with her during the day. And then once I left the facility, I sort of just continued with that, eating clean and green.
Could you explain what clean and green is?
Sure.
Because I've heard that expression.
Yeah, so all of the food that I eat and have been eating is organic, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, no grains, so grain-free. And Lisa can talk more about the grain brain and how that affects us. And all of the food that I eat is organic because of the GMOs in the food, the toxicity and all of the food supply that is out there. I didn't want to put any more toxins into my body. It had had enough. So I stay all natural, organic, in the foods that I eat and the supplements that I take. And we can talk a little bit about essential oils, which I use as well, and they are plant-based and natural as well. And so that is my clean and green diet. I also drink only water. And that's how I've been living for the past two years, 7 months.
Okay, so let me ask, if you don't mind, how has that helped you staying clean and sober? Because being on prescription pills, I mean, that's a biggie. You're on them for a long time.
Long time.
Long time. So how did that help you stay sober?
I think what it's done is it has detoxed my body. So there are no toxins going in. And my body still today is still detoxing somewhat, from the damage that has been done for 40 years. So I think it's given my body a good running start, where I don't have to worry about detoxing any new toxins from any pills, for any health challenges that I have. Of course, we breathe in toxins every day, and there are toxins out there, and even in the foods that I eat, the organic, you hope that there's nothing in there. But at least my body is dealing with a much lesser amount, and it really has cleaned out my blood. I think Lisa's been with me for such a long time, and has been right up there in the front of the line with the baton and throughout my recovery, and she has led the way for me and teaching me how to take care of myself in my recovery. So my blood has been cleaned out by the organic foods and all of the organic and natural supplements that I do use.
Lisa, could you tell us a little bit about how Wendy's journey and your journey intersected each other, and how she found you and how you helped her?
Right. I was doing a workshop on gluten-free eating, and Wendy joined in on that workshop, and she introduced herself, told me that she admittedly and openly honest, that being honest about being a recovering addict, and from there we met and came together, and I've kind of been there for her to kind of cheer her on. She's done a great job on her own, and when you change the food, I mean, nutrition is when we're putting optimal foods in our bodies, and it's feeding information to our cells, and that's vital for rebuilding the health of your body. So when you're rebuilding the health of your body with whole foods, organic foods.
What do you mean by whole foods?
Whole foods.
I know
The
this
whole vegetables and fruits and all your potatoes, or your, even if you can go some, Wendy's a vegetarian, but I mean your eggs, your dairy, organic or grass-fed beef, chicken, and all of that type of things. You're not eating out of packaged food, processed food, canned foods. They're just depleted of nutrients. Sugar, that's an anti-nutrient as well that kind of just depletes our gut flora as well. So when you're putting less stress on your body by taking in this, there's two things that lead to disease in the body. Cellular malfunctioning is basically a lack of vital nutrients and an excess of toxins coming into our body. And
when we're eating food's an information to our cells. And so if we're eating healthy food, organic food that has nutritional value, it tells the cells to stay healthy. If we're feeding ourselves things like sugar and gluten and dairy and taking pills and things that are unnatural, it tells the cells, it promotes to promote inflammation.
Right. And inflammation is what really is the form of what happens systemically. It's causing a mucus in the buildup of the body, and unfortunately it is. Whole foods feeds the necessary release of natural hormones, or boosts our immune system. It regulates inflammation. So basically, this is helping us, be vital, and energizes us and fuels the body.
So you think this way of eating gives you more energy?
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I'm listening and I'm trying to take everything in, and it's a lot because I'm thinking about everything I put in my system. I mean, when the mucus and all this stuff that is floating around me, I'm sorry, I just can't. I mean, and I'm saying to myself, how do you start this? I mean, where do you start? Recovering addict,
yes,
which has a whole host of behaviors about doing too much and instant gratification,
yes.
And then how do you change the way you eat to get that kind of, I guess, for being filled? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Because you got two things working. You get your addiction, and then you've got a whole new way. How do you start?
I think for me, and I see it in other people, you have to know when you've had enough.
Okay.
And that, for me, was thinking to myself, how will I be able to sustain a lifelong recovery and be successful?
Got it.
I can't, in the beginning, I used to tell the story that when I was in recovery in the rehabilitation hospital, they wanted to give me a pill for some pain that I was having, and I took the pill, and I got very sick and was taken to the emergency room. So when I got back to the rehabilitation center, the next morning they said to me, the doctor wants you to take this pill again to make sure it was the pill that caused the episode. Right. I said no. and they wrote me up for being non-compliant.
Blind. Oh, I hate that.
And that was fine with me.
Right.
And I was thinking, I don't want to take pills for anything
Right.
anymore. I want to try a different way, and how can I do that?
Got it.
And that's when I started to think, I've heard so much about alternative treatments and or alternative way of life, wellness, and that's the way I'm going to recover. And that's what I've done. And with Lisa's help, because Lisa has taught me so much about what I know and got me excited about becoming a holistic practitioner.
And I think when you talk about the whole process, when you've had enough is enough,
Yeah.
to sustain recovery and thinking it's not, which I just did, it's putting down the drugs, but you put the two together and said you've had enough
Yes.
inside and out, spiritually, emotionally, and health-wise through your
Right.
body. Everything has had enough. And
Yes.
that resonates that, maybe we're missing that people aren't staying in recovery.
I agree. I think that the program that I have created, which Susan and I have talked about, and Lisa and I are working together to create and continue to create a wellness approach to addiction recovery.
And now, do you present that?
I do present it. I have presented it at the hospital where we first met.
Okay, Nyack.
Nyack Hospital, right. That's where I started my recovery.
Okay.
First 5 days of my recovery. So it's been a great full circle for
Sure.
me, because I was facilitating a women's group there and talked to them every week about what I'm doing and got a lot of excitement, and then did a bigger event, the one when we did Narcan training, like where
Yes.
you and I met.
Yeah.
They did another Narcan training, and they asked me to speak and to tell my story, and that's what I did.
So now, do you two get together and, do you invite people in that are having problems with addiction to give them ideas on how to quit and that sort of
I
thing?
think we can go there. We would love to go there. We haven't gotten to that point yet.
Well, I just did have a workshop scheduled, but people aren't signing
You gotta
up
go
for
in
it.
there. You got to go into the treatment programs and present this as part of recovery, putting this on the table. Because I'll go back to what you said, and I just have something for you. It's part of when you said you've had enough
Yes.
is enough
Yeah.
with everything. It was time to make changes. And we
Yes.
don't do that in treatment. We only worry
No.
about the drugs. We don't talk about eating better.
And if I could just say
Sure,
this,
please.
please, because I feel like, I know we were going to talk a little bit about why perhaps traditional recovery doesn't work. And I just feel like I saw something that said moral principles is not medical treatment. And we need to have many different modalities that treat the whole person
That's right.
holistically.
And really have it. Not
And
just
really
say we
have it.
have it.
We say we have.
Right.
Say we have.
say we have many pathways to recovery, but we don't.
don't.
And
No,
that's
we don't.
that's one reason we really wanted to have you on, because this is surely not traditional pathway to recovery. So, Lisa, could you tell us a little bit how you even got involved in this? It sounds like it's very scientific to me, your field. And could you just tell us a little bit more of how you got involved in this field?
Sure. Nutrition, basically, I guess I've always had a passion for nutrition, being an alternative energy healer for 20 years, but it wasn't until my, fourth son was born that I realized there was something wrong there, because I do treat my family very holistically. And come to find out, he was allergic to everything, soy, dairy, eggs, you name it, and he had it, and that was my aha moment, that there was a gluten intolerance, and that where the doctors could never find wrong with me and what was going on. So there I went and studied through IIN, which is the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which was great because it talked about bio-individual needs and stuff like that. But nutrition is the basis for health and well-being and key factor. And so with Wendy, it's also stress. We have to think about the stress factor, and holistically, it's more than just what we're eating and taking in and digesting. It's also about, spiritual-wise, emotion and stress and all of that. So that, to me, is such an important key, that you're treating the person as a whole. And same with most anything that's out there right now in programs, cancer patients come to me and they're not taught about nutrition. And we've learned through the gurus and doctors who were treating people medically and have come around to realize it's about what we're putting in our bodies. We're not getting the enzymes, and our digestive system is the hub of our health. 80% of our immune system is in our gut. And basically, there's so much information out there on leaky gut syndrome.
Talked about that. Can you talk more about that, please?
Yeah, because really, again, our immune system is based in our gut. And what happens with all the toxins that we're taking in, our intestinal tract, our digestive system, should be similar to a window screen where the air is coming through, and in this sense, it would be our minerals that are going to fuel our body and put it into the bloodstream so there's optimal functioning. But what happens when you have punctured holes, flies and mosquitoes are getting through? Well, in this sense, now we're not digesting our foods, and larger particles of proteins, fats, inflammation, and bacteria are now passing through our guts, especially into our blood. And this is from, our bodies are not made to metabolize chemicals, additives, preservatives, hormones, all this genetically modified foods. So what happens, it's going into our bloodstream, and it can land anywhere in our bodies. And that's how we get autoimmune diseases, when it's landing in our joints, our tissues, organs, and different things.
Wow, that's
but it's
pretty
also passing through the blood-brain barrier. So think about the mental health of our nation now.
Right.
It's inflammation is basically blocking, again, here we go with getting more detail, but it blocks the metabolic pathways for serotonin.
Okay.
And serotonin is a calming hormone.
Right.
That hormone is basically 80% made up and released into the gut. And there is scientific proof of the gut-brain axis now.
Okay.
So what's happening, when we have all these stressors that are constantly coming into our body in forms of food, environmental components, and different things like that, genetically modified foods, our bodies cannot handle the stress because the serotonin's not there to calm the body.
Is that, you think that's why a lot of people are on SSRIs, what is it, serotonin uptake inhibitors?
Exactly. I mean, you talk about 120 million people diagnosed on antidepressants.
Right.
Yes,
I
which
mean,
you mean SSRIs?
Yes.
Yes. Just for the,
Okay.
I know what that is because I was on them for a while myself. But so I know that they're antidepressants, and but they have something to do with lifting the serotonin in the brain.
Right, and if you do things like what we recommend are things like exercise. You go out and you do exercise for 30 minutes, and that will raise the dopamine and norepinephrine levels, that GABA, that give us that happy feeling naturally. We don't need to take pills for these types of things.
But what you're saying, for me, and this is a lot to take in. So what you're saying is all the stuff, the sugar, all the garbage that we eat gets into our blood-borne barriers of the brain, which kind of like coats it. If I had something like a thick brush, like paint, I would coat that, which means the serotonin can't be released through my body or through my brain to make me feel better. Is that right? Naturally. Because it can't get through because there's something stopping it, there's something blocking it.
Exactly.
Is that why we have so much ADHD?
All sorts of these autoimmune diseases are being caused by the foods that we eat. And I used to wonder, how does this all begin? How do we have a nation that everyone is so ill, most people, and I feel like babies are being born like this. Lisa talks about the umbilical cord and how many toxins are in the umbilical cord from
287 known carcinogens can be passed through
the mother to the baby.
So that baby doesn't have a chance.
Are born into already toxic world, but basically it is we have an inner ecosystem, and that's the microbiome. And that gut flora with good bacteria is so depleted it can be sent back about 3 generations. So we can really see that, again, what's the big things that are doing it? Inflammation is causing this breakdown. Stress So stress management
And
is environmental
right.
factors are all.
I think we need to do another show
Yes.
with you guys because there's
It is.
so much,
There
and I think
is.
it's so
Yes.
important that we get a handle on it, not just in recovery, well, absolutely in recovery, but in every
Mental
day.
health.
I mean, yes, 68 million children now on the autistic spectrum. I mean,
Yeah, it definitely has
it's
something
sad.
to do with the food
Nutrition,
we're
yeah.
eating.
It is, or
Yeah.
it's a standard American diet.
Right.
And we can
Yeah.
rebuild the immune system. We can do it. It takes time, but it can be done with patience. And I'm living proof of that.
You are, thank
and
you.
I really feel like if we can get that message out there, we can help so many people.
Yeah, it's all about, in our programs, that how we treat is about removing the culprits,
Right.
replacing those with good, healthier choices. And then it's rebuilding the gut and healing and sealing the leaky gut. And then for us, in this instance, with addiction and stuff like that, it's rewiring with the right kind of messages,
Yes.
which is so
is the
important
And do you
to
also-
revitalize people so they can deal with the stresses.
Do you have that part in your program, the part about the rewiring? I mean, I get the nutrition part, but this, as you know, because you've been there, it's really a lot about the thinking.
It is about the thinking, for sure.
So, do you, in your idea or the program you're trying to put together, do you have an idea of how you're going to handle that messaging, which is done very well in 12-step programs?
Mm-hmm.
And although I don't agree that should be the only thing a person trying to recover should have. Do you have that part? Are you thinking about that part in your program when you think about nutrition as recovery, also messaging that you're going to also have as a component for people struggling with staying sober?
Right. Our core beliefs is so important. So yes, it's there. I mean, emotion is a big part of who we are, and negative emotions, feelings, trauma, self-limiting thoughts, all get embedded into our body's tissues.
And they're vibrational.
They're vibrational, so we need to raise those frequencies a little bit. And
Positive ways.
right, right. Because
Positive affirmations, talking about the positivity, not the negativity. I had gone for a few months, I tried the 12-step program, and the thing that really turned me off, and although it works for millions of people, millions of people,
It's a support
it can be
system, so it is
an
good.
adjunct
Right,
to
right.
what we're doing,
Right.
but not the be-all to end-all, because when I have to sit each time I speak and say I'm Wendy, I'm an addict, that's a negative connotation,
Right.
and it's
Absolutely.
vibrational, and it keeps telling me, this is a bad thing. If I say I am a survivor of addiction, I am a wellness, I am coming
I
from
like
a place
that.
of wellness, that's positive, and we're teaching people
Right.
in a positive way to recover.
And I think when we start changing, we talk about this all the time, changing the language. Changing the language of addiction, and I like how you said survivor. I'm a cancer survivor, and whatever you think of Armstrong, Lance Armstrong, he did so many great things for people cancer. He changed the language. It's
Yes.
about surviving.
Yes.
And I like that so much better, survivor of addiction.
Or
Thank you.
someone in long-term recovery.
Long-term recovery.
That's right.
That's
Yes.
right. You're
Yes.
absolutely a survivor.
we're in a constant evolving
You're right.
world, so we have to be more open to change,
We do.
and
I
not
wrote-
stuck in a vortex which is spiraling downward. But
I wrote a quote, the whole quote,
Yes.
but I don't have the whole quote with me, but the gist of it is that change is inevitable, growth is fortuitous, and the more we embrace change, the more we grow. And isn't that what life is about?
Great. Could you say that again? Because in closing, I mean that's wonderful. That quote.
Yeah,
Can you say it again?
I have the entire quote here. If you'd like me to read the whole thing,
I don't know.
I have the
We might
quote.
not have time.
We
for
might
the
not
whole
have
thing.
time.
All right,
just
so
what you
change is inevitable, growth is fortuitous. When we embrace change, we grow.
Or we can simply put, you got to look for the good and the bad, the happy and the sad, through the gain and your pain, or for what makes you grateful, not hateful, too. So we're looking more
That's good
at
stuff.
Yeah, very
and
nice.
That's
those are-
good stuff. It really is.
Well, I don't know how much time we have left here, but I did want to ask you one question. How do you start this? And Lily did say something. I mean, let's just say if I wanted to start on this,
Journey.
this holistic approach to eating. How do you start?
In recovery or in general?
In general.
I'll let you take it, Lisa.
You have 3 minutes.
It's a hard thing because no one will embrace natural solutions so much. There's no subsidizing. There's no money in it, because there's no one going to back it. And that's
But if
why,
I wanted to
but
do
to
it
do
myself,
it with
personally.
We are holistic health coaches. We've worked with a lot of people. I mean, I've helped people through autoimmune disorders and helping them get off their meds and stuff like that. We work with essential oils are a big thing, and those can help also with our limbic system, our emotional part of our brain. So
And also the blood type diet, which is what I do in my practice, because they say if you eat foods that are incompatible
Right.
with your blood type, it causes disease. So these are the things that we work with people.
So
And
we
have
have
had
your
success.
website. We have
your
yeah, we have
website.
your website, so people can contact you, and you can go step by step because you've got me thinking. And I'm going to see your faces. I did last night. I still ate the Snickers bar, but I'm gonna be more fortuitous. To change or change makes for which either way.
You're going to think
Growth
about
is
it.
fortuitous.
Think about it a little
I'm going to think about it, and I'm not
go.
going to eat the Hershey bar. So I want to thank you for being here, Wendy,
Thank you.
thank you so much,
Lisa.
Joe.
For a minute, I just drew it to my age.
Thank you,
No.
Susan.
It's all the crap, it's all the garbage that's blocking.
I just did.
See?
I just did a blog. Is it brain fog or something more?
Really. So I want to
check it
thank
out.
you. Thank you very much for being
coming.
here. You've been wonderful.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for having
much.
me. Yeah, for having
Thank
us.
you.
Yeah, thank you.